Oh, hi, I am the Lady Miss Vagina Jenkins, and it is time for Queer Astrology. Last week I was talking about winter, the winter doldrums, and how for me it is a time of much lower energy. So yeah, I was asking folks for ideas, and one of my subscribers, Sydney6443, suggested something to do with understanding energy levels changing across the year, especially as it relates to one's fitness or movement practices, and like how we could shift our movement practices based on where the sun is in any given sign over the course of the year. And I definitely felt that idea, and it definitely, thank you so much for suggesting it, because it definitely sparked so much conversation in my head. So yeah, shout out to them for suggesting it. And the first thing that I want to say about that is it reminds me of this amazing book. This book is called Deconstructing the Fitness Industrial Complex: How to Resist, Disrupt, and Reclaim What It Means to Be Fit in American Culture. This book comes highly recommended. I haven't read it all the way through, but I've skimmed it, and it's an anthology, so that means to me that it's a little bit more accessible. But in terms of like the ideas that they are presenting and playing with, I am with it for real. It's edited by Justice Roe Williams, Roc Rochon, and Lawrence Koval. I'll make sure to link it in the description box below. So yeah, definitely made me think about this. And then it made me think about, yes, to following how the sun is changing in its signs over the course of the year, but also it also made me think about how I look at astrology problems, any particular issue like fitness, and how I want to look at them from a more systemic perspective. Yeah, because it's like when I first thought about doing YouTube videos, I was like, oh yeah, everybody else does it like this, so this is how I'm gonna do it. The sun across the 12 signs and what that means. Mars across the 12 signs and what that means. Mercury in the 12 signs and what that means. And I, for some reason, I just had some resistance to it. And it's now thinking about this video that I recognize what it is that I understand astrology, no matter what issue you're talking. If you're looking at a natal chart, a locational chart, a solar return chart, an horary chart, these are all systems. They are planets interacting with each other. They are holistic systems. And so looking at one little aspect doesn't actually give you the information that you think that it does, or that we think that it does. And so yeah, this is an amazing opportunity to talk about a particular issue in a holistic sense. And so yeah, I'm grateful for this opportunity. So when I think about fitness, the first place that I start is, what is the dominant mode of energy in a person's natal chart, and what is the dominant element of energy in a person's natal chart. Before I even get to the sun sign, Mars sign, anything like that, that's the kind of basic frame of reference that I want to start with. How can you find your dominant mode or your dominant element? Two different ways. You could just straight up run your chart, make a list. My sun is in Leo, that is fire, and it is fixed fire. You can go through all your placements like that, right? Or you can have a website do it for you. Astro.com is really good at doing this for you. When you run your chart through Astro.com, you'll see the natal wheel at the very top, and at the middle there's a teeny little chart, and it has the initials CFM for cardinal, fixed, and mutable, and on the top, and then on the left hand side it's got the initials FAEW for fire, air, earth, water, and it tells you, each of the planets in this circular chart is represented in this little graph here, and it's like you have the most cardinal energy or the most water energy, and you can see it really clearly. So that's two ways to figure it out. Let's talk about what it means too, though. So when I think about having most of your planets being in cardinal signs, so the most cardinal energy in terms of the three modes that you can have, I think about being a self-starter. That's the first phrase that comes to mind. And so yes, to the skill of, hey, I have decided that I would like to pursue movement practices that look specifically like this, and being intrinsically motivated to do those things. We love that for cardinal signs. The weakness, though, in having a large amount of cardinal energy as it relates to the issue of fitness, is that where is the commitment? Will you see this idea through to the end that you have come up with? And what does it look like to honor your energy and honor the energy flow? You know, if you wake up one morning and you feel like you have a cold or a hangover, are you going to continue your workout, or are you going to honor your energy that day and be like, you know what, I'm going to rest? That's kind of the drawback of having a lot of cardinal energy. But yes, to being self-motivated, I wish I had more of that. And then, yeah, we come to fixed energy. Yes, to fixed energy, and the idea of seeing a thing through to the end. However, when I think about fixed energy, the first thing that comes to mind is inertia. And so, yeah, inertia can work in both ways. Once you've started, you might be really good at continuing on and keep going and seeing this idea through the end. But also, inertia could keep you stuck in not starting. I am not a person who has a fitness practice. I am not a person who can approach fitness with any sort of success. I've never been a person who lives in my body in that way. You know, a lot of the ideas that you might tell yourself. And so, yeah, how do you overcome the inertia? And then the same issue with, like, how do you also have your fitness practice while honoring that energy may change from day to day, from month to month, from season to season. You know who's really good at honoring the way that energy changes from month to month, from day to day, just from season to season, is mutable energy. And when I think about mutable energy and fitness, I think about going with the flow. I have a dominant of mutable energy in my chart, and so it is very easy for me to be like, oh gosh, I don't think I'm feeling team sports today. I'm gonna do my own little solo walk. Or I'm not feeling really confident in terms of being seen and perceived by the public at all. I'm gonna do a solo stretch in my living room, like that kind of thing. Really good at like tailoring my movement practice to the day, how I'm feeling, that kind of thing. The issue comes up with mutable energy is that lack of fixed energy, not being able to see the thing through to the end. And a thing that has often happened to me as a mutable dominant person is that one day that I miss soccer practice, pole class, whatever the hell it is, I just go, oh, I lost my flow. I guess I'm not doing that anymore. So it's that lack of commitment, it's the lack of inertia. And then also the difficulty of not having that cardinal energy, being intrinsically self-motivated, might be a challenge if you have a predominance of mutable energy. So that's the first thing that I want to talk about as we're thinking about, oh, how can I approach my fitness journey knowing my energetic blueprint from my natal astrology chart, right? So yeah, what mode do your planets to come in? And then what element? Fire, air, earth, water. It is really, you've got water, earth rises from the water, air covers the earth, and fire is the spark that blooms from the air. And so that's like the stars that are in the sky. And so yeah, having a lot of fire energy in your chart might mean that like fitness or movement practices, especially if there's like a lot of like quick movement, a lot of energy to it, might come more easily to you. Whereas being a water dominant person might not be a high energy sort of fitness journey. When I think about being water dominant, I think about my own practice of yoga flow. I don't necessarily call it yoga though. I just call it my morning stretches. Like that is most of what my fitness journey looks like. And then yeah, when I think about the next level, so to speak, we've got water covered, and then we got earth rising from the water. I definitely think about, yes, having a little bit more energy to do things, but these need to be things that are sort of grounded in an everyday reality. And so when I think about earth fitness practices, I think about like literally gardening. This is literally working with the earth, and you're making something beautiful as you are doing your fitness. Can I think of another example of earth-centered fitness? A daily walk in which you are observing the natural world around you. Not necessarily, you know, focused on the fitness and I've got to get my steps in, that kind of thing. When I think about getting my steps in and the idea of like using technology to approach your fitness journey, that's more of an air thing. It's in my mind, particularly Aquarius. But yeah, and so then you've got earth and then you've got air covering the earth. And so when I think about air signs, I definitely think about connecting to other people as part of your fitness journey. And so I could see an exercise class, a fitness class, yes, to the using of the Fitbit or other technology to track one's steps. And then I also think about, well, no, I think that's it. And then, yeah, moving to the final element of fire. Yes, to having a lot of energy to get your fitness needs met. And so I think about, particularly when I think about fire energy, I think about competitive team sports. So we've gone from like group activities to team sports. Something that allows fire energy, because it's so much energy, something that allows fire energy to sort of burn itself out, is that, if that makes any sense. So yeah, keeping in mind the picture of like what your modal dominance is in your natal astrology chart, as well as what your element dominance is in your natal astrology chart, might help you to approach your fitness journey. So those are the first things that I want to mention. When I think about the planets that might assist us in our fitness or movement journey, definitely Mars is actually the first thing that comes to mind, but also the sun. And Sydney had talked about the sun. And when I think about the sun, I think about the way that it can influence our vitality, you know, like how the sunlight helps a plant grow. It provides a source of energy. So that's one thing. But I think also about Mars as our intrinsic energy levels as well. So I guess I'm thinking about the sun as more external, or maybe even aspirational, whereas I think about the Mars sign as something that's more intrinsic to us. And yeah, if you're looking at the Mars sign in your chart to understand what your intrinsic energy levels are like, definitely keeping in mind like some of those things that we just talked about. Is your Mars sign in a fixed sign? And what is the role of inertia in your fitness practices? Mars in Taurus is going to be a really different experience from like Mars in Aries. And this goes back to the issue of rulership and planetary exaltation. And I'll make a link to I'll make a link to the video where I talk about planetary exaltation. Is Mars happy in Taurus? Not as happy as it would be in Aries or in Scorpio, but then it's at home in both Aries and Scorpio, right? But then Scorpio is a fixed sign, and Aries is a cardinal sign. So Mars would be at home in both of those signs, but I feel like it would be more successful to the endeavor of fitness in Aries, because you would also have that intrinsic motivation to express this kind of Mars high energy. Whereas in Scorpio, Mars and Scorpio, you're going to have that kind of fixed energy. So yes, you could, have the inertia that allows you to keep going on your fitness journey every day, or you could be so shut down by fitness and the idea of a movement practice that you feel like it could never be accessible. So, in what ways are these going to be different experiences, even though they are both Mars signs at home? I'll also add that Mars is exalted in Capricorn. And I think that that's really interesting in terms of, it's like Capricorn's ruled by Saturn. So you got this Mars energy that's saying, yes, we have the energy, the drive to carry this out. And you've got this Saturn energy that's like, well, shit, let's make a plan about it. Let's make it happen. Yeah. So those are some things to think about. I pointed out, I wanted to talk about the Capricorn and the Aries of it all, because this just occurred to me that a lot of people start their fitness journey during the month of January, during Capricorn season. And that to me feels like the attitude that they have. They're like, okay, fitness, it's the start of the year. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to make a plan about it. And yes, that's very Capricorn. But if you don't have a Capricorn dominance in your chart, how successful is that going to be to maintain for the rest of the year? Starting January. And then, yeah, there's also the issue of people that like to get started when, spring season starts. Aries season starts in March. March 21st to, I believe, April 19th. And so in Aries season, you have Mars at home in its domicile, and the sun is exalted in Aries. It's an honored guest in the sign of Aries. So we have both internal and external motivation. The sun has just started shining. The birds and bees are out and really excited to get moving again. And then, yeah, the issue becomes, okay, so Aries is a cardinal sign, and yes, we are excited to get started, but can we maintain? So those are some ideas that I was thinking about too. So yeah, check out your Mars sign to see, how that might affect your internal vitality. And then your sun sign as well, to think about like how that might affect your external experience of vitality. Yeah. And then that's those planets in the natal chart. Now let's think about, and this was the question that Sydney was asking, is what is it like if we are focused on the transits? So the first thing that you have to understand is the transits are what they are in the sky, but how they affect us individually is more based on our individual natal charts. So yes, to the idea of sun is in Leo and it's the middle of the summer and we're really excited and the sun is out, and maybe theoretically that will give us the external vitality that we need to begin a fitness journey. But that depends on where Leo is in your chart, what other planets you have in the sign of Leo or aspecting the sign of Leo. So yeah, I say all that to say yes to the idea of external transits affecting us, but they affect each one of us so different based on the holistic energy of your natal chart. But yeah, if I were to make like sort of general ideas about what the sun signs look like, I would definitely think about when the sun is in cardinal signs. I think about you might have an easier time starting a fitness practice or movement practice. And those cardinal signs would be Capricorn, Cancer, Libra, Aries. And then, yeah, if the sun is in fixed signs, I think about maybe it would be easier to have a fitness or movement practice that you actually commit to. So that would be when the sun is in Scorpio, Taurus, Leo, Aquarius. And when the sun was in mutable signs, I wonder if it would be easier to begin a movement practice that had a sense of flow to it. One day I do my little yoga or stretches. The other day I might go to my soccer practice. Another day I might just take a long walk. And so, yeah, that would be sun in Gemini, Sagittarius, Virgo, Pisces. So that might change energies as well. And then the same thing with the Mars sign, how you might have more intrinsic motivation during the different times when the sun is in cardinal, fixed, or mutable signs. So yeah, I encourage everybody to look at where the sun is in their chart, where the Mars sign is in their chart, how efficiently those planets are able to do their thing in terms of planetary exaltation, being at home, or in rulership, or being exalted, or being in detriment and fall. And then I also encourage you to look at your Mars sign for the same ideas. I also encourage you to maybe even look at your chart ruler. What is the sign, or excuse me, the planet that rules your first house, to understand like what your energy and approach to things is, to understand, you know, how you might be most successful in your fitness or movement practice. So yeah, that's some basic ideas that I just wanted to throw out there. And then next week, I want to talk about rest. I don't think that rest is necessarily the opposite of fitness, but it is just an idea that came to me. How do we look at how we do rest in our chart? That's it. That's the video. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comments below, or any suggestions for ideas for other videos. Please suggest anything that comes to mind. No idea is too big or too small. And yeah, that's the video. Thank you, as always, for watching. I appreciate you, and thank you for making time for queer astrology. Mwah.